Da 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 da. Hello. Hello. How are you? Asuka here. I'm gonna bring you the 8th day of the scoring phase. I believe it's the 8th day. I did put 8 in the title. I was supposed to be watching the BFK versus ECL. Does look like someone forfeited. Probably BFK. I don't think ECL has been disqualified as of late. But, nevertheless, let's hope the observer system is working. Otherwise, we got some good old nice lineup for tonight with HNB versus CBEL. And then there's 3 battles after just the 1 battle for the first one. So there's also VNH versus CCT, and then DZ versus CE. And I am going to be watching the DZ versus CE. I think the DZ will probably take that pretty easily. I think they only have 1 competitor, and they fight on the 23rd. Yeah, DZ versus QAT. That's the one we should watch out for. It's going to probably be the major tiebreaker between DZ and QAT, which in their bracket. I'm not sure how many will actually make it to the next stage. Our BPJT our returning champion will come back. So there should be they should take 3. It's 12, 13. Nope, that doesn't work. 16 doesn't work either. They're good to 4. If they take 2, that doesn't work. Again, like, they did it to, the grouping was by 4, so it's just like, it's very hard to see how they're gonna set it up. How many knockouts phases are gonna be, since they'll only play 2 major matches a night. I do think that this entire thing will be probably over by the 2nd week of May. And that should also come to a close with the season, so the 2nd week of May. So we finish up the scoring phase on the 24th, heading into most of the so 24th. The 24th, sorry, stops here. Supreme Glory. Okay, so we're in this one, the 24th, so we're going to the next phase. Here, timing-wise. That gives us 2 weeks until the end of the season, meaning that for this House Legion League, it'll probably end similar time. Probably take as long as an extra week, so we might go until the 14th, or it'll end sometime on the Friday. How many matches are normally in? If there's 16, that means 8 matches for the first round. 8 matches for the first round. 2 additional matches for the losers bracket. 2 additional, the next one. 16 teams. 16 teams. 8 matches. Okay. I'm trying to do math here all in my head. I really need to write this down. But just take my word for it that it normally takes around about 2 weeks for the knockout phase to finish up. Probably around 9 days. 9 days is normally what we get for the knockout phase. Oopsie daisy. I was not meant to do that. Great. Oh, wrong way. I think it's because I put my chair lower a bit. Sometimes after sitting on my chair for a long time, it kind of raises itself as the air pressure inside the system just kind of gets reset. Or there's more pressure inside it? I don't know. I don't know how mechanically that works. But yeah, I mean, for the knockout stage, it takes around about 9 maybe 10 days. So that should take around about 2 weeks since we only stream on about 5 days of the week, leaving Tuesday and Saturday for TW. Um, so if we do end on the Monday, starting up on Tuesday, that means we should end either on the Monday or the Tuesday 2 weeks afterwards. So either the 8th or the official end of the season or the 10th, around about 2 days after the season end. I do think, I do think, once the tournament end, the tournament end should be somewhere around the end of the season. Then we'll get around about 2 week quiet period between seasons. That does vary a lot though. I say 2 weeks, but I think the shortest gap between seasons was literally they ended on the Monday and the new season started on the same Tuesday. That was the shortest season break I've ever seen. Normally what happens is like if the season technically ends on that Monday, we had one season where it started the Tuesday the week after, so around about 8 days. 8 days after the season end. And normally what would happen was be end on the Monday technically, and then the following Thursday, sorry, not that week's Thursday, but the following Thursday we'd normally get it. So it's actually about a week and a half. But there has been times where it's been a bit longer. We've had about 2 weeks, 2 weeks down. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. But I can say it's going to be around a month before we start to see probably the next season being teased. With this season being coming to a close, I will say that these two units have been causing a ton of problems in the meta. These guys absolutely just busting up any unit that doesn't have a long reach. Meaning, if it's not a pike unit, the monks are just going to mess them up. But that also being said, there are some units that can withstand the amount of damage being thrown at them, and that's really just the Imperial Spear Guard. But that also has to do with that fact that Imperial Spear Guards get like 60% damage resistance on top of their massive armor and health. So it's kind of scary. It's kind of crazy how tanky those guys are. The reason I'm wasting time, by the way, is because instead of going in, is because I'm not officially allowed to be in this match. So I'm waiting. I'm practically waiting for the match to start. Do check in now and again every about 3 minutes, but that's not happening. Talking about 3 minutes, I haven't actually activated the break. Sorry, dudes. Sorry, my dudes. Forgot the pre-rolls haven't come through. Oop, sorry for that ad. I forgot to activate it before starting stream. Yeah, sorry for doing that 3-minute ad. Again, I mean, it is just mainly to keep the pre-rolls off so people can just jump into the stream fairly easily. But as long as nothing's happening so far, I think it shouldn't be too much of an issue. I mean, like, as I was saying, it's just, as I was saying, the Yangenau Cavalry and the monks have just been causing a lot of issues in the meta. I mean, the monks are so strong, or they deal enough damage that they could basically outcompete nearly every single tier 5. I think the Medals really struggle at killing them. The Retiari, again, I mean, I touted them as a balanced unit at one point, but I kind of realized that they're actually kind of OP. Like, I'll put it this way. They have a powerful range attack. Their charge and they have a very powerful damage ability that also scales off of percentage health. And they have a really strong defensive and CC ability in spearfishing. So they have tons of damage resistance, tons of damage, and these guys. I mean, the only thing lacking is probably some of their innate stats, so they're a little bit glass cannony. But that's not exactly true either because of the amount of damage resistance inside their skills. So Radiari are pretty overpowered. Again, Varangian Guards were overpowered. They used to do a lot of damage, but um, I think the hit limit being reduced down without kind of mediating some of the damage that they can output. Still, hitting around about 3 targets for about 3,000 damage or 3,500 damage, kind of the raw damage anyway. I think their penetration is what's making it really low, or they're really struggling against units that have really high damage resistance. Even even Medals have pretty high damage resistance, which makes it difficult. But as you could probably tell, Scylla is surprisingly coming up as units that you would not expect. I definitely wouldn't expect the Scylla to kind of come in, come in and again, because fascinatingly enough, Scylla have slightly longer range. Slightly longer range. They do decent at the block break. And here's the difference between that makes the Medals useless against the monks, while the Scylla are really great. The Medals are practically useless because of how the monks have a block. And this is the really, really weird thing, is that because Medals abilities both ignore block. Because those things ignore block, they do not destroy the block of the monk, meaning that the monks don't take extra damage from the Medals. So the Medals are doing minimum damage. Even though even though it goes through block, it's minimum damage. And these guys don't do a lot of damage as it is. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it's pretty terrible amount of damage, especially if their target's not running straight into them, which is probably one of the most annoying thing, is how low the damage from Medals is. When realistically, Medals should do quite a hefty amount of damage. But I mean, let's put this in comparison. Having 8 more models than the Borderachos, but compare this to the Medals, who only do around about 1,300 piercing damage against 1,100 piercing damage. That's only around about 15-17% higher. In order to kind of equal out just the numbers advantage or number difference, it would just be about you wouldn't the Medals would need to do around about 30% higher damage than the Forte in order to even out the numbers difference from the total amount of damage. And that is even before we take in consideration some of the overall tankiness. But I mean, like, obviously you'd think that the Medals are super tanky. They are. They have the 20% damage reduction in thing. So I wouldn't put it past you that it the Medals are definitely tankier than the Forte, but the longer reach, the total amount of damage output makes it very difficult for the Medals to really be of use. Has the 2 new monks and the Yanyadao captain destroyed the meta? Um, Honestly, the doctrines for both the monk and the Yanyadao cavalry hasn't really had much of an impact. Um, and I'll put it like this: they were already destroying the meta before those doctrines were in. And the heal doctrine for the monks is probably not is less of an issue than the initial one, which is the epicycle heal. The epicycle heal one, I'll tell you that you know how they sometimes restart the attack? Every time they restart their attack, the first hit will heal them. So there's that. The heal that they just got, which is for the Crescent Moon one, that one doesn't actually work on the slam. It only works on the actual wide swing. So that one actually has a very, very low margin, very, very difficult margin to pull off or to actually activate. So not only do you need to hit a target, that thing like, you need to hit a target. The slam already pushes the targets away, so you're less likely to hit the target. And because they don't actively look for targets with it, it's a very difficult, very difficult heal doctrine to actually utilize. So it's actually um, very useless for the most part. Coming back to the Yan Yadao cavalry, though, we have seen that people are complaining about the Yan Yadao cavalry doctrine being CC immunity, but we're kind of in this weird spot where the Yan Yadao cavalry are so fast, and their attacks basically come. The Dread Unleashed attack basically is unstoppable by default. I've never seen the Yan Yadao cavalry attack be stopped. Like, put it like this: Have you ever seen? Have you ever seen Dread Unleashed actually get CC'd mid Dread Unleashed? You haven't, because they just died. They just straight up died. Even if you could, how Dread Unleashed works is that if it gets stopped, they'll just unleash another one. So the CC immunity doctrine doesn't actually work. Doesn't actually work. Right now, we are off between MJ versus TNK. I do think TNK does have the upper hand here. I do think they are probably going to be the favorite to win. MJ, I'm not sure if I've seen too many of their battles, but I do think I remember seeing them before. So they have fought in battles prior. Tournaments prior. Whether or not they have the skills to back it up, I'm going to have to watch them very closely. Both the left and the right-hand siege towers do get destroyed. I have said before that normally the middle siege tower, you kind of want to let them up so that you can easily sandwich them. But here on the Kuruk Castle one, I have kind of changed my mind about how the setup works for this. Getting them on this right-hand side is probably easier to flank them than it is here on the left-hand side, since you kind of need a prep for this one. But nevertheless, this battery platform definitely would scare the bejeevers out of anyone, even if it's mainly to destroy the siege towers. A Culverin to the face, a dancing dragon, along with Flaming Comet, should definitely mess up anyone's day pretty easily and very fast. And I'm not surprised that, like, the unit selections are kind of reflective of some of the more important units that come, or more for like high performance units coming through. Well, the strangest thing is that, like, the only reason, like, here's the thing: Fort of Brushers wouldn't exist if cavalry was weak. Well, I mean, like, no one would pick Fort of Brushers. Fort of Brushers are actually really strong. Let's put it this way: really strong unit, but that comes from the fact that of its actual usage as a counter unit. It's actually pretty weak against a lot of, they're actually pretty bad against a lot of their matchups, but they're very difficult to deal with, especially en masse. And, so I'm kind of surprised that, Fort of Brasher, like, I'm not surprised. Fort of Brashers is kind of a, what the hell? TNK's Ikemen looks to have been completely yeeted out of the game. That's very unfortunate. Alright, no time for talk. Let's take a look at the attack right now. MJ does seem to take a split approach, closing in the guys on the right-hand side, getting locked up by just two of the monks there. Rear... Whoop. Nice Shenji grenade, keeping the enemy at bay. Definitely a nasty throw right into the mix. I'm not sure about this Imperial Spear Guard. Definitely not even in cover commander mode, so there's no bonuses for them. Now, the battery of both two batteries of Falconetti gunners shooting directly into the pile. I'm not even sure who's winning right now. The front line has been sustained mostly from just misses, and the Imperial Spear Guards just chugging along. But we get some Shenji grenades right on top of that. We're getting a lot of damage to the front line, but it does look like MJ is going through it. A good push from MJ, in fact, getting that great, getting that left-hand wall up onto, getting that left-hand wall. So they did take my advice and the control of left-hand wall. I mean, like, they could have taken my advice, they might have not listened to me, but taking control of that left-hand wall gives them a great position to batter down onto the enemy. The only problem here is you still need to take out those Falconetti gunners. The Falconetti gunners from two directions, in fact, will be very difficult to get your own artillery platforms down, and will definitely keep you pressured for new units to come up. Now, I wouldn't put it past MJ to just go straight onto the A point and use this little structure there for protection. It is actually quite nice for that protection. Unfortunately, there is a Siphonati very close to the front line here. Grape shots going down, hammered onto... Where did that changing grenade come from? Coming up from behind, in fact. Two heroes goes down to kill them. That should be a short work. Two heroes should normally be easily able to clean up a mess like that. Insufficient lineup, though. Does look like the grenade in the back did quite a number on them. Now getting chased out, TNK take control of the left-hand side wall yet again, and unable to grab the A point. MJ is put in a stressed position, but I wouldn't put it past them to think about other avenues, as they do have a lot of cavalry out on the field, but the front gate does look to be heavily guarded. Double fortibraccios, one either side, and a Madao in the center. Probably the best lineup you could probably ask for. Madao's in the center means that they take most of the damage as they focus on the Madaos. The fortibraccios are left to tackle the side. So that lineup is actually really great for, well, having a three-sided defense there is always just great in general, but your tankiest unit taking the center with your auxiliary units that have much longer reach, taking advantage of those sides. So it does look like they want to go through the corners. Nice double thunderstruck comes through. Unfortunately, whoa! Here comes the cavalry. They do get straight into it and just basically murdered those fortibraccios. Doesn't look like they're going for... Whoa! Cavalry just messing up a pile here, and that's not good at all. Cavalry busting right through a fortibraccio does mean that they're right onto the Falconetti gunners, although it does look like they got killed off. Gaining control inside, not entirely, so unable to get those reinforcements through. There is a siege ballista in the back, and I just noticed that firing. I have been hearing the bolts, but I didn't know where they were coming from. Difficult thing here right now is control the battle on the inside, going straight for the back line here. We got some Dagerac Lancers being diverted, and that is a... This is going to be a very costly battle for both sides, as MJ managed to make a beachhead inside, but the extended battle makes it very difficult for them to really stabilize. But nonetheless, the attackers keep up the assault. Really should look for a reset, or at least a good pickup. I would have probably at least grabbed something from... Whoa! Shoot him! Shoot him! Why'd you destroy it? You could have shot him. The grape shot was in a great position. Could have used it to shoot that poleaxe. But nevertheless, that A point is being reinforced by ISG. Most of the MG heroes have been clocked out. We might see a little bit of free kills here. Dagerac Lancers do actually just walk by it. Does look like they... Whoa! Outside is a double cavalry, just gets minced meat. Does look like the heroes are actually winning. The heroes from MJ take the A point. Halberdier just kind of walks in there, not in position. And as we clock down, TNK is throwing their heroes one by one, but completely covered by... Whoa! Nice charge by Prefecture Pikeman, instantly murdering that hero. I do think that the Fort Brachio's here would be better suited to on attack mode than rather embrace getting them in a proactive. But nevertheless, a good spread of Fort Brachio across this A point makes it very difficult to get. Not to mention this barricade makes it doubly so. The Flamers do make a gap for them to kind of funnel troops in. Unfortunately, MJ, unable to cut off reinforcements right now. They really need to clear off this A point. Instead, they're getting cleared off in... I would go for B. B would be your last bet. B is open. And there's plenty of people there at the A point. Your ground troops should move towards that B point. Unfortunately, too little, too late. TNK makes a nice move, having their respawns go straight to the B point and securing their victory. Unable to get the A point, unable to get the B point. MJ makes a good effort, giving TNK a run for their money, but I do think the 14v15 is not fair. And I really do hope that, oh, wait, maybe? Hang on. Where is he? EK Men actually did come in. Did he have any units? He did have units, so that's fine. Alright, so EK Men actually did come in. I thought he was clocked out for the entire match. He did die twice, lowest performing. So, one of the deaths was probably from the DC, and one death is probably actually from dying. So there's that. I do wonder how badly was the first attack, actually. My goodness. That first attack was extraordinarily costly. Wait a second. Enemies here. Allies. Allies is the defenders. Oh, big loss for the defenders straight up, then a big loss for the attackers almost simultaneously. I'm surprised. Extended fight on the ground, so they did do a big pickup. I'm surprised actually. The battle on top of the wall was more costly than I thought it was. Definitely did look like a better performance out from MJ, but probably I was underestimating the setup from the defenders because they almost took double the losses. The attacker took double the losses of the defenders there at the first attack, following into the ground battle, which was in favor of MJ, but the respawn definitely cut them off here. I'm surprised at how long this second battle kept going, but I think that was a necessity as they kind of rushed in towards the A point here at the end, as ground forces were still contending on the ground, fighting here on the ground, so really needed to reset faster and probably allowed the defenders to reset as well, but extended fights are kind of like that, about who gets in position first. Did look like MJ did get in onto the A point, able to kill off a couple of guys, but getting pushed out eventually by the reset needs to kind of take out that supply point, but it's very difficult indeed. Nevertheless, TNK, well done for your defense. I do think MJ definitely pushing you there. So, MJ definitely no slouch. Definitely no slouch at all. But I do want to reiterate, I do think that the Fort Brachio is being kind of a staple pick comes out as a necessity rather than a eventuality. Because honestly speaking, they are pretty much the only anti-cavalry unit that works, or at least has a high success rate, and that is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I have a nose hair just tickling just the tip somewhere. Trying to just shove it back in my nose here. Now we're just waiting for the next battle to allow me to get in, since we are about 3 minutes behind. Wow, that is really annoying. I will have to fix that in the break in between. Either I just pluck it out, or kind of cut it. Maybe I'll try to cut it.
Our path is the difficult one. We fight for children, for our future.
The Yangadao cavalry is a strange culmination of power creep and coding. The developers definitely like to make new things. I definitely think the monks were a quite more measured approach. The monks can be balanced if they did the numbers correctly, but they didn't. And I'll tell you right now, basically how the numbers worked out is that the monks are doing around about 50% more damage than the berserkers, but they don't have the whole mechanic. They don't have the whole heal mechanic. They don't have the they don't so put it like this. Yeah, if the berserkers didn't have breakthrough, if the berserkers didn't have breakthrough by default, berserkers versus monks. Berserkers are dealing around about 1/3 the damage that that monks are outputting. Monks are outputting um, almost 3 times the amount of damage by default, but only around about 50% more damage when you take in consideration that +1 breakthrough node, which is a very powerful node. Don't get me wrong. The first one is 100% increase. Second one is much less, and so on and so forth. So monks are not balanced in terms for like damage numbers, nor are they balanced in terms of health, because let's put it this way, they're actually way squishier than berserkers. Berserkers can get that nice 60% damage resistance, and I do think I bugged out here, so I'm going to reset that. So this does happen. I do think I'll probably, every time I go into the observer mode, I'll have to hit restart Conqueror's Blade with oh man, come on. Bot line with 40s? Nah, you go top line, you want more damage. Come on, just exit it. I don't need this close. Trying to preserve memory as much as possible, but it's just like I'm just trying to speed up. I'm just trying to speed up. Because I'm just gonna open you up again anyway. Um, with nearly all units, you want more damage. More tankiness doesn't really work because of the amount of damage that is outputted. There are very few situations where increasing the amount of tankiness will work out. Um, in kind of one-off cases, you can increase the tankiness of cavalry to the point where they don't get one-shotted, and that way you can kind of overwhelm other things. But Fortebraccios get a +1 from top line, which is extraordinarily powerful. And put it like this, the damage you get from top line dwarfs the amount of defenses you get from bottom line. It's incredibly useful to have a bottom line Fortebraccio in kind of a, how to say, did I just get stonewalled again? I'm getting stonewalled again. God damn it. What is happening? Alright, so right now I cannot view the battle, so I'm going to quickly just hijack someone else's stream, allow you guys to see it from someone else's perspective. Um, hopefully they don't think I'm cheating. Well, I kind of am. But I will try to get a view as quickly as possible in the meantime. So we're going to be watching Moj Booty. Looks like he's the Espanol. Okay, exit the game. So that still was working. Interesting approach from TNK. Super aggressive catch from MJ here. Does get him though. Definitely love the running attack from the glaive. A nice catch tool. I mean, the running attack from the glaive is probably one of the best in the game. If not the best in the game. I don't think there's any running attack which is better than the glaive's one. Honestly, like, I'm thinking about running attacks. I mean, even the chain dart one, which does a lot of damage, and I mean a lot of damage. The glaive's running attack, so nice to pull off, so nice to use as well. So I definitely don't think, I definitely think that glaive has the best running attack in the game. Nearly all the heavy armor running attacks are pretty terrible. The mole's one's probably pretty good. I really hate the longsword one. The longsword one's pretty bad. Actually, no, the short sword is pretty good. Oh, did I lose? Well, looks like I did lose. Did look like someone's stream just went offline there. That's not good. Well, anyway, it does look like I'm getting in. Did I pause it? Did I pause it? Maybe I did. Alright, I'm getting into the game anyway, so thank you for, well, hijacking your stream there. Thank you for not allowing me, well, I mean, I just hijacked your stream there, so it doesn't matter too much with me on Doctrine. So, your thoughts on health plus defense rune? Well, here's the thing. Multiplying effect on a couple of things. But doctrines, however, have a smaller margin of difference between between the damage doctrines and the defensive doctrines. So in this case, health and defense doctrines actually have a better, higher performance rate than the damage doctrines that are available for the Portobratio. But there are some doctrines that are very necessary. Especially if you're going to face other infantry, the Stun Embrace one is basically mandatory. Stun Embrace makes it a super headache for basically any unit, and I wouldn't put it past you if... I don't know why TNK is being such a coward here. They could easily run up here, muscle this guy out, and just turn to face these guys. If they can stretch the battle to this corner here, this corner has a nice treb line for these three to come in, and these three to kind of come in as well. So they do. They push. They're gonna come up. No, why push up? Why push up? This is a nice defensive position. This corner here, maybe, but right here is really good for the defenders if they had more setup. But right now, just the flamers are holding that position. Moving into the enemy, probably bad position. I will say this though, Gat mortar there, I definitely would have sent someone over to destroy it. That's making more of an issue than anything else on the front line, and it will be slow, but again, really great position for the defenders. Bulking up on this section makes it very difficult to treb, and they're getting mortared, unable to get some more front line on the front here. Again, this treb won't hit. Maybe one will get through. Let's see. One might. Oh, no, get blocked again. That was a partial. That was a very backwards. That was a very backwards one. TNK off to a bad start. We do get a lot of. we do have a lot of things that did not spawn in correctly. Maybe when we get into the second half. If we ever actually, if we even get to the second half, that would be really great. But that being said, there are some doctrines which are way too good to not use for the rushes. So that's the stun on brace one, absolutely mandatory. Um, Things that might seem a little odd, or you might think would be mandatory, but not entirely necessary, is the cavalry damage reduction while the race. The funny thing here is that they can be knocked out of brace. If they get hit out of brace, they don't receive that damage reduction. Most of the time, what's happening is that cavalry, especially high-tier cavalry, will smash the unit out of brace, and they'll take full damage anyway, so they don't get that damage reduction. And that's the most annoying part. So you can have that, you don't have to have that. Realistically, that doctrine only really works against very minor use cases where they kind of don't get knocked out of brace. So for the most part, if the charge hits, it hits. If it doesn't hit, they'll be fine. They'll take minimal damage. But the guys that get knocked down will definitely take full damage, so they'll pretty much die still. So you're really kind of avoiding some of the bad use cases where they do take a massive hit, and you're kind of banking on them just not dying by the rest of them just getting rolled over. So TNK again, making TNK definitely doing their best. But the hard thing here is that some really nice position from a flaming, war rockets right into that front line there. But MJ making the big mistake of going up. Stairs are a two-way street. They can be very bad for the person going up, and they can be very bad for the person going down. So definitely should not be focusing on going up, and should be focusing on controlling that stairs more than anything. Shenji's getting dived by a short sword, probably a good strategy. Not the greatest, though. I did think that TNK would probably put a little bit better effort into this attack, but I might be wrong here. Maybe MJ has a weaker... MJ probably has the better performance overall. As, again, we're going to come down to a field battle for TNK. Probably the fourth field battle I've watched from TNK. But maybe I'm also being biased here. Maybe MJ has always been the stronger of the two teams. These both are from JC, so I'm very much wondering how a field battle will go out for these guys. Right now, Portabraccio is getting swiped by a Liao. Unfortunately, the Liao did not activate early enough, but a Yanyudao comes through. First few instantly died, but able to smash through a Portabraccio. That is a nasty, nasty swipe. Really sad as well that the Yanyudao cavalry is so powerful. They are able to take a swipe at the Portabraccio even if they have to die for it. But nevertheless, it's the same deal with Dagger Lancers. If they don't die instantly, they'll take a good old swipe. During that swipe animation, even in normal mode, I've noticed that they take massively less damage, and I mean massively reduced damage. I think my 4,000 damage attack goes down to 500, so it's definitely nothing to scoff at. I do think there is an error with the Dagger Lancers. I'm not sure if I'm sure we're going to see if that gets fixed or not. I do want to keep telling people about it so that people know about it. We want the developers to hear everyone. So if you think that damage reduction on the Dagger Lancers is kind of ridiculous, do tell them about it. Get them to fix it. Nevertheless, TNK makes a mighty last push. Although they're out of time, they could have gotten this A point if the battle kept going. And be honest here, the defenders had a big advantage. I don't think the TNK could have pushed on and won the day, but nevertheless, MJ, I think you're doing better. I think you're doing better. Defender's advantage from last game. Not doing them too well, I would say. Getting pushed much more heavily than MJ did in their defense. So we are looking at a kind of stronger team from MJ, but both teams are defender focused, so neither team are capable of attacking. And I do think that it trends very well. TNK has been struggling to attack, and so has MJ, so I don't think these two teams are very far apart in skill. But if I was to say which one's better, I do think MJ had a better performance overall, especially in their defense. But neither team was good on the attack. We have been watching a lot of TNK, so although that is inevitable, it's just how it is. TNK going down to a lot of field battles though, which is very surprising. Again, TNK kind of picks up on the defense quite a bit. Very surprising that they were really struggling against MJ though, considering I mean, I say that, but it's like I haven't actually watched very many of the MJ battles. If at all, any. So, pretty much biased there. Nevertheless, coming down to Grassland Assault is quite interesting. What are the most OP doctrines in your opinion? Alright. Put it like this. Any doctrine that adds a new skill is OP. Especially for the range ones. Arrow Rain, Double Shot. Oh wait, that's not Double Shot. This is Double Shot. Arrow Rain and Double Shot is some of the most OP skills that you can get. Put it simply, Arrow Rain doubles the attack speed, but it reduces the base piercing. In this case, double the attack speed for 75% piercing, and the ability goes on for about 10 seconds. Something like around about 10 seconds. That's a 50% damage increase. For those 10 seconds, you're doing 50% more damage than you would normally do. Now, what's even crazier is Double Shot. Double Shot adds an extra bolt. In retrospect, it's probably not exactly 100%, but it's pretty damn close. Crossbow units shooting 2 bolts every time they shoot is basically a 100% increase in damage. That is incredibly insane damage increase. And that is way more power than most of the doctrines that you will ever see. Like, think about it like this. A lot of these doctrines add minor effects or just straight up damage. So some of these defensive doctrines are really great. Armor ones are particularly great because they have such a high amount. Now, the other doctrines which are very powerful. So let's put it this way. Penetration compared to armor. You need about twice as much penetration compared to armor in order for it to break through armor, or to be cost effective. So, in most cases, you would never go for penetration, except for the times where you're going for the penetration to increase certain thresholds for units. Certain units that have a low margin really need that little bit extra amount of penetration to do damage against certain units. But raw damage will normally do better in almost all scenarios. If you the only reason you would need to min-max your penetration is that you want to get more damage out anyway. That only happens when you're considering what target you actually are fighting. In most cases, you will never get enough penetration in order to get a sufficient performance out of your unit. So the work you need in order to get that penetration up is really bad. Other doctrines which are really powerful are some of these defensive type doctrines which has a condition. So this 40% while charging, actually really powerful. Only problem is that it's for a shield and sword unit. You know what the problem with shield and sword units? They're blocking. They're blocking while they're charging. this is half useless. So half, like, basically, if they run it, if they're blocking the attack anyway, that means they're not reducing any damage. If they take any damage anyway, it would be extraordinarily minimal. Having this on is kind of a miss. Kind of a miss. It's kind of useless because the charge itself is protected by the block, and I'm surprised that has not opened up yet. Have I not waited 3 minutes? Or did they disable it? No, they haven't disabled it. I haven't waited 3 minutes, though. There is a 3-minute delay, so it's a 3-minute delay with a 3-minute delay. So you want to have those kinds of doctrines on, like this 40% damage reduction doctrine would be so much better on units that don't have active blocks. And that gets me to one of the most cavalry doctrine, the worst one in terms of power, is that 50% damage reduction while charging. That single doctrine makes Lance Cavalry so much more powerful than it has any right to be. It goes from getting one-shotted, like, legitimately. Lance Cavalry goes from getting one-shotted by most pike units to actually surviving. You can, for the most part, except against Forbracios have this has this habit of actually killing the cavalry in time before they actually get hit. Halberdiers can be overwhelmed, but they can normally withstand a lot of cavalry charges. But that 50% damage reduction makes it very difficult for pike units to actually kill the cavalry that are charging at them. And when cavalry don't die, the cavalry behind them will plow right through the unit. And that 50% damage reduction, although itself is probably less powerful than some of the other doctrines, especially those that add skills, this adds the defense. A 50% damage reduction on a skill which already has a extraordinarily high scaling for efficiency. I mean, let's also put this in numbers. Doubling your survivability is basically as good as doubling your damage, because you're basically doubling your performance. So, in retrospect, that 50% damage reduction probably way stronger than I give it credit for. Even though I do say it's one of the most OP doctrines in the game. Now, TNK has a habit of coming in and definitely going in for a super aggressive approach, but here's the kicker. Like, they lost the C point from not defending it, and MJ comes in with a trickle. So let's see how TNK handles this next section. Right now, they're grouped up on the A point, gonna grab the A point, comes in from the side here, is a massive charge, chunking out huge sections of TNK here. Do get a good pickup. Now, I'm not gonna give MJ too much credit here. The only problem here is the kind of security. TNK kind of just lost heavily in the exchange, and that has to do with their skill. Definitely do think that their approach is difficult to deal with, but they lose out very easily here. TNK picking up that big advantage is quite nasty, though. 22%. Now, leading into the second half, this is the defensive half. I want to see what TNK aims for, because a lot of their heroes still are alive, but a lot of them did die. My pick would be that a triple cap will come out soon. They're going to secure the B point with a couple of guys and go for the C point, kind of giving TNK not enough room to make any... Oh, No one's going for the defense at C right now. MJ going straight for C is going to be a difficult battle if only one Dagger Lancer comes through. We got some camels to reinforce. So this is going to be the scary part. Dagger Lancers versus Liaos. Normally Liaos can do quite well. Dagger Lancers in United Charge do beat them though. Half beat them? This is always just the weird part. It's just like depending on how the cavalry's AI works out, the Dagger Lancers can normally just one-shot most of the Liaos, or the Liaos can mostly one-shot the Dagger Lancers. TNK, again, really great approach for the first beginning, but the problem is that they're not very good at leading into their advantage. Now, they're kind of sitting ducks here for this war rocket, but they did a good job at securing the C point. Now, here is the distribution issue. Do they have too many people here on the C point? Oh, they're going to lose the supply point at this rate. If they can get that Port of Russia to turn around, that would be great. Although it is Yanyudao Cavalry. Yanyudao Cavalry do fascinatingly well. Did beat out another Yanyudao Cavalry out on the field. 2 Yanyudao Cavalries. Here we go. Brace! Ah, oh, very nice. Right now, we're off to a great... Oh, no, hang on. We got some Silidars there at the front. Although the cavalry did take a massive hit there. They're losing that supply point. Could be the meaning... could be the difference between death, victory, and defeat here. MJ in a super strong position. Super aggressive as well. Now, Now it is going to be terrible for TNK, because they don't have very many places to resupply from, and they're going to be trapped inside their base, so those guys from C are a bit stranded. Although, I would say they're kind of outnumbered here on the base point. Probably going to end with a base point push. Using the terrain to their advantage. The Yanyudao Cavalry do come in at a rocketing speed, but the counterattack does come in, backs to the wall. Great positioning for those Fortebraccios, and nice cleanup. Only losing a Fortebraccio in the mix so far. But I have all 3 of the Sword Cav at rank 5. Feels bad. Let me be honest with you about that. The Sword Cavalry doctrines are not that good. 30% increases speed, yeah, sure, fast, but that doesn't increase their damage much. I mean, like, you got the piercing. I mean, you got the slashing and slashing penetration on it, which is nice. The only one that's really worth it is probably the cooldown reduction and the infantry damage. 250 infantry damage plus the 6 or 9 seconds charge cooldown. Super good. TNK doing a really good job for the defense right now. MJ doing really bad for that attack, and I mean really bad. I think the advantage that they had kind of got overturned, and I am right. The advantage that MJ had coming out from the aggressive push from TNK almost completely overturned with a super bad push. TNK really doing me proud. After 4 field battles, they're doing some great improvement. But I mean, I do think MJ's biggest mistake here was going for the harder target, which is the base point, where they could just take the C point. Now, the C point here, I'm gonna have to say, where are these camels going? They're taking the aggressive approach and doing an assault. I would never attack a supply point like this. One of the worst things, I would say, is trying to attack the supply point, and this is very upsetting. The halberdiers are not doing enough damage to kill the monks, mainly because the monks do heal quite a bit. The monks are almost clocked out, though. Should need to focus more damage. We're about to lose this C point if there's no reinforcements coming through. Now, TNK might get stretched thin here as they try to assault. This position. So we're turned back towards MJ as a triple cap might come out. got some respawns. Really good move by the camels just to brace, doing as much damage as possible to those units. Unfortunately, a triple cap does look like it's going to be the end for TNK. I guess the difference was a bit too much for them to handle, as we do clock down to basically nearly all of the units left from TNK is clocked out. We do get a couple of respawns, but I do think we might see some permadeaths coming out, actually. A lot of deaths from TNK leading up towards this final fight, towards this seed point. Probably left too much of a toll on them. I don't doubt that TNK did a very wonderful job on the defense here, but stretched thin, it is inevitable, to say the very least, that victory is a foreign concept. I don't doubt that TNK did a wonderful job. Unfortunately, MJ picking up that big advantage at the beginning, even after a massive loss with their primary attack, they still held a advantageous position. Now, here's the thing. Coming from any other angle, the Forbarachio can't catch the cavalry fast enough in order to one-shot them. So they get halfway into that Forbarachio, and any other cavalry will just go all the way in. Chevaliers, super tanky. Look at that. They got all the way into that Forbarachio, and then these guys just rinsed them with a hail of bolts. And that's the scary part about Chevaliers, is that they have no real weakness besides other range units. Like, like, in a 1v1, Chevaliers have no real weakness. I can run down those archers. I'll lose my archers, fine. I still killed their archers. A cavalry unit, any charging cavalry unit would just instantly die. Any cavalry unit trying to challenge the Chevaliers would instantly die, because it outputs so much damage. There is no shield unit that could survive a charge against a cavalry unit, as well as bolts from defense crossbowmen at almost 3 times the damage rate, and it's just a terrifying prospect. Terrifying prospect, indeed, to have that be the opponent you have. Chevaliers are just crazy, ridiculously efficient. I don't know why Chevaliers haven't been nerfed into the dust yet, but who knows? Who knows why? Alright, I'll be back very shortly. I'm gonna fix my nose hair issue. Hopefully. Otherwise, it is quite annoying that it's tickling the nose.
The river, it never ends, as the mountains reach to the sky.
Alright, hopefully that did work out.
Their soldiers still waiting for them to come home.
You shouldn't really cut your nose hair too short. One of the things why the nose hair is very important is that it filters out the dust and it filters out the nose. Hi, Belle. Also, it makes sure that it doesn't allow too much cold air to go through. Sword cavalry also gets super shafted as well. Like, let me, like, taking a look at like the sword cavalry ones. 30% increase slashing damage, slashing penetration. This infantry one is pretty much one of a good one as well, but like this is the thing. This is the thing. This is crap. These are crap in comparison to something like this. Imagine giving this to sword cavalry. Imagine giving 50% damage resistance while charging to sword cavalry. That would be a go-to. That would be amazing. Put that on something like Keshiks? Holy cow, would that be a menace. That would be the exact same as like this is the thing. Like they could put that on Keshiks and we would have the exact same problems that we have Daggerak Lancers and Cataphracts, but on Keshiks. But that's the thing, they won't. Because these doctrines are super biased. They're super biased, and because of these restrictions, the units that do get access to them are head and shoulder above stronger. Another example is this one. Great Tolerance. Although it's kind of a one-time thing, you have to bring out the unit again. Why not? Khorne Berserker. Like my question is, why not? Why not use it? It's super powerful. Super powerful. DNZ not coming? That's gonna be sad. Oh no, someone came. Why wouldn't you use Chevaliers with crossbows? That's my question. Like, put it like this. What is it that makes Chevaliers weak, in your opinion? It got nerfed. Don't get me wrong. It got nerfed. But the nerf only took around about 15 off the top. 15% off the top of a unit that is performing at a margin that is 3 times, maybe 4 times its competitors. And that's the thing. Its performance rate is so damn high that 15% off the top means that it's still doing twice, maybe 2.5 times better than their competitors. And that is my question. Why wouldn't you use that damn unit? You get countered a lot. You can be countered. But in those situations, you can mitigate the damages, your losses. You're going to learn. People don't want to learn. People who refuse to learn don't see that these units are incredibly OP. Exactly the same as when I say Berserkers are OP. People who are good with Berserkers are insane. But then again, Berserkers are really difficult to deal with in the first place. Very few units have enough damage to actually kill them, and very few units have enough defenses to actually sustain the amount of damage they take. But Berserkers do have a caveat now. They are more difficult to get off with because a lot of the meta units can easily deal with them. And when I say that, it's true. Meta units are meta because they have a performance rate much higher than other units. Why wouldn't you take the best units? Why wouldn't you use something as strong as Chevaliers? Because it's not your playstyle? Its performance margin is just not high enough. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. I mean, it never resets. Yeah. From what I've been told, I am answering you 3 minutes in the past. I mean, yeah, I'm answering 3 minutes on delay. So, boy, the Great Tolerance rune is a one-time. Is kind of like a one-time thing. It only works. It only works as it doesn't reset at all. Sorry. The only way to reset this particular doctrine is to respawn the unit. Meaning put it away and bring it back out, or make them retreat and bring it back out. Apparently that works, but that is a doctrine which, in certain cases, is incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. Imagine, but you just have to think about it in kind of like best case scenarios. In retrospect, there are not very many times where Medals will survive an entire engagement. So that doctrine gives you a leg up at the beginning, which is still incredibly powerful. It starts off at 33%. Imagine tanking an attack at 33%. What kind of attacks would you want to tank with that 33%? A cavalry charge, probably not so much. It's kind of overkill to tank a cavalry charge with 33%. But that 33% is very useful for something like an infantry charge, like, let's say, a Myrmidiones charge. That would be very, very useful for that 33%. Nevertheless, I think Medals, I think for the most cases, it's just difficult. Or, I mean, like, let's think about Yan Yanao Cavalry. Throw in a Yan Yanao Cavalry into the Fort Brashears, 33% damage reduction. Oh my goodness, how difficult would that be in order to kill that Yan Yanao Cavalry? That would be a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. To try to kill a Yan Yanao Cavalry that charges straight into your line, slaps the shit out of your whole unit, and now you have to hit it 7 additional times in order to do full damage? Hard task. A hard task, if you ask me. One guy spawning in the front, I think this guy made a mistake, maybe. CE going here, going in from the east gate, smashes right through, does take a peek. Just walks through, actually. There is just walk on through. I definitely would just leave my units outside. Definitely just giving this supply point away for free. Not a terrible strategy, but whoa! Loss of a Falconetti, that is pretty terrible. So no spawn in, so that's good for them. Could catch some heroes out here on the field, letting that A point go. A little bit of a loop-de-loop right now. So not bad approach. Will the glaive make it? Oh, no, he didn't! Instantly get killed. Very brave. 2 heroes down. Shield Maiden just walks straight in because their controller is dead. Here comes another Shield Maiden, although completely outnumbered and getting flamed to death right now. Even with that 1 second of CC immunity, that is definitely not enough to turn the tide. 3 heroes down, 2 units down. That is a terrifying start. 3 units down, in fact. That Falconetti Gunner plus the 2 Shield Maidens. Not a great start. Again, on Linwi Fortress, numbers is everything. And starting off the bat, we got more tier 5s coming out from DZ. DC probably is going to have to look for the stronger engagements. I'll put it this way. I would always just stay on the wall. I would stay on the wall. If I'm the defenders and the attackers wants to get through, I just stay on the wall. Now, here is a bad start to a fight. Flamers right there, and you're attacking. You're pushing through. We got some backliners. We got a squeeze here, although the front line's about to go completely. Could turn around and finish them off. Surprisingly enough, did not actually win that engagement. I was very surprised. Good fight from DZ. Nice squeeze on them there. Taking out the back line, taking out the front line. Good usage of the artillery there, but loses the A point. So getting pushed on to the base point. I do think one of the biggest advantage here in Linwi Fortress is the wall, but nevertheless the base point can be quite useful. DZ is more of a proactive approach. They definitely like to catch the attackers rather than let the attackers come to them, which is probably a much better approach considering that CE has more reliance on tier 4 units than tier 5 units. So I'm looking for a bit of attrition down here, but although they did take a massive loss at the beginning, they made more than made up for it at this point. CE got to make up for the difference here, and really got to start using those artilleries as well. Remember, with 2 artilleries for the defenders, 3 artilleries for the attackers, those 3 artilleries, my goodness, 30 artilleries used on such a small map. I wouldn't be surprised if all hell breaks loose once CE starts putting down artillery. And it could be very easy for 30 artilleries to kill all of these units here. The only problem is that they'll need to set up. And that's one of the biggest problems. Setup is difficult, always difficult. Yes, it stacks, but it stacks multiplicatively. For the most parts, there's no reason for. Sorry. There is different ways of how damage reduction works. So, for the most part, damage reduction works multiplicatively, depending on how it's applied. So, normally when it's applied through passives or things, it's a total damage resistance stat, which is additively added on. Now, starting off pretty strong, killing off the supply point, but getting slammed in the back there as they turn that corner. This is going to be a trickle of a fight here, though an absolute massacre happened here. Not winning on... Man, what are these cavalry coming through and just murdering everyone before I even get to see anything? I don't know what happened here in the back. I looked away from this section here, and cavalry just comes in and kills the whole unit. The Yanyidao cavalry literally murders the rest of whatever CE had here. CE is now lower in efficiency, much lower than efficiency than DZ, and I'm pretty sure even trading 1-to-1, DZ will easily send CE back to the gutters here. 8 minutes to go, and it's already almost a guaranteed victory for DZ. You weren't here for my earlier explanation, Corn Berserker. The CC immunity doctrine basically does nothing. It's one of the most pointless doctrines I've ever seen, mainly because of how Dread Unleash is coded. Dread Unleash right now is coded in such a way that even if you do stop it, they'll just throw out another one. And it comes out so fast that it's basically unstoppable anyway. So, you can't stop it mid-attack. Virtually, you can't stop it mid-attack. I've never seen it get stopped mid-attack besides the cavalry dying. Literally, either the attack is completely CC immune by default, or it comes out so fast that it finishes before it gets CC. In the end, I don't believe that the CC immunity doctrine does anything. And this is a unique perspective. Everyone thinks that the CC immunity doctrine is doing something. Well, they're not wrong. It's giving them CC immunity, but for all intents and purposes, I don't think it's doing anything. I don't even think it's doing anything practical, because I haven't seen a change in performance from using it and not using it. My cavalry still dies. I can still hit Fort Brascio. I can still hit through Medaus. That CC immunity doctrine, that's nothing. That's nothing for me. So, I'm not sure if you're going to accept that explanation, but I'll be honest, that's just how I see it. A lot of artillery has been used on the defenders, but in terms of time, the attackers need to be much more aggressive in terms of artillery. And by much more aggressive, I mean they need to start placing down 10 artilleries every minute in order to have enough time to attack the base point. And that's not even considering that they need to break through this kind of pseudo defensive position halfway into Linwu Fortress, which is not even at the final defensive position, which is the base point. The base point has very limited areas to go through, while this one has several areas to go through. Well, more likely, 3 lanes to go. Not that it's easy. I mean, CE needs to need to push across if they want to go through one of the less defended lanes, but I'm pretty sure DZ is going to adapt to that very easily. I have a very itchy nose today. I think it's because I didn't shower yesterday. I showered just before. Oh, but I will say, that 15%, while they're using Mounting Dread, I didn't realize until later that even when you activate Dread Unleashed, they are still technically in Mounting Dread. So they still have that damage resistance. So the unique thing is that throughout the entire attack, they have 15% damage reduction. And here's the thing. There is about 1 second gap for maximum usage. If you use Mounting Dread up to maximum and then use Dread Unleashed up to maximum, there's a 1 second gap. You can have that 15% almost on entirely. And that 15% puts them on par with something like Monastic Knights. And I say on par mainly because of their higher health. They have around about 30% higher health and 15% additional. They don't have 10%. They don't have 10% additional, so there's that. But still, coming in from the center here off to a okay start. I think DZ being super aggressive here is keeping them at bay, but when CE tries to be aggressive, they're going to kind of walk into a trap. Although a charge by the Myrmidolones should do quite a bit of damage. Smashes right through that front line, in fact. The Imperial Spear Guard could not survive, or whatever. I think that was actually a Fort Ratio. The Imperial Spear Guards were kind of caught up in that corner there. Mostly being chunked down by the monks. And I don't believe... Whoa, that gun line is doing an okay job. Though Myrmidolones is charging through. Another charge, smacks again. Getting shot from angles, though. That fight was very even. But again, trading almost 1-to-1 there.
A walk in the park.
Could be, I mean, it could be a thing.
Dust to dust.
But for all intent and purposes, it's just like, while they're glowing that yellow, I think they're CC immune anyway. Like, basically they're CC immune anyway. So, I've never seen the attack actually get stopped. My entire time of facing these guys and using these guys, I've never been able to stop the attack. I've never seen the attack get stopped. I mean, I've tried a lot. I've tried a lot to kind of stop these guys. Mostly with my hero, of course. And mostly, like, using other units to hit them with. With a minute, 30 seconds left to go. I don't think CE has anything to muster with their final attack. And it's kind of expected. I mean, already in the first half, they didn't actually come off with a good start. It's always been like this for Linwu Fortress. The defenders would always use much stronger units and just blitz the attackers out. And the usage of the Siphonades are being a bit more liberal, I might say, probably because of their higher performance margin. They were a very powerful unit in the first place, but now almost being guaranteed at being a killer. I think it become well the usability rate has definitely increased. I would say much easier to use Siphonati's, otherwise known as flamers. We call them flamers, but official name is Siphonati. Used to be called Nafan-Guard. I love the Nafan-Guard. The sound of the Nafan-Guard. Siphonati is kind of like kind of a word for flamer. That's like calling a Metadam a swordsman. But I mean, name origin, I mean, that's also really cool. It's not like we haven't done that before. I mean, Varangian is actually just the name of a mercenary. Or it could be a mercenary career.
Summons you.
13 seconds, I believe. I think the official cooldown is 13 seconds. I don't remember officially. They actually reduced the cooldown, which is really funny. From the PTR. Which is really annoying. Because the cooldown. Oh wait, no, did they increase it? I can't remember. But there during the PTR you could almost activate Dread Unleash almost back to back. Like you could press 1 3 times and you would just do 2 Dread Unleashes or something. I can't remember properly. But I don't think you're wrong. The total time from charge to Dread Unleash to use from charging again is very short. Very short. And I'll put it like this, like by default, I don't think Dread Unleashed and Mounting Dread is any stronger than what we already have. By default, though. So to put it simply, Mounting Dread Unleashed does around about 3,500 damage right now. By default, that is, without any of these bonuses. You add these bonuses, you start getting some bad numbers. I mean, not bad numbers, but you start getting some crazy numbers. About 3.5 to 6 targets. Now, similar unit that does this around about this much damage is the Liaos. They do around about 3,000 damage, 3.3 thousand damage to about 6 targets, I believe. I thought it was 8. I was wrong. It is 6. They do that in a single skill. Oh, so you think to yourself, that damage seems kind of reasonable. It's not. It's honestly not. What is crazy is the bonuses it gets. So here's the thing. It's like the Yanyudao Cavalry is Liao's, but more harder to use when it's basically level 1. Then you get to level 30 with all the bonuses, with all of those veterancy nodes, and then you see it's better than Liao's. I thought it was weaker than Liao's on release, mainly because their Dread Unleash only attacks once. And that's another important thing. Their Dread Unleash attacked once back on release. Right now, it can attack multiple times. And I mean multiple times. Honestly, I've only seen Dread Unleash happen twice, at most. But here's the thing. That is still one time too many. because the damage coming out from Dread Unleashed is greater than Bludgeon from Liao's. And I've already said multiple times that Bludgeon is a crazy powerful skill just for one hit. Coming out 2 times? 3 times? Insanity. Dread Unleashed is basically Bludgeoned, but on steroids. When it's fully charged with all these bonuses, I'm doing bonkers damage. Put it like this. Bottom line, I'm doing around about 5,000 damage to 6 targets. Holy cow. 5,000 damage. I could one-shot 2 units. 2 units would die instantly from a single Yan Yu Dao. Technically, from total amount of damage dealt, in retrospect, what would actually happen is that 3 different Yan Yu Daos would have to hit the same target in order to one-shot it. But top line, even insaner, because hitting 12 targets from 6, that's double the amount of damage. So you could kill twice the number of people. I have both. I'm working on both. I like the idea of bottom line, and also bottom line is easier. It's easier to deal with some of the more difficult units to deal with. They deal more damage to monks, they'll do more damage to other cavalry, and it's much easier to deal with heroes. No, there's no bug per se. The bonuses are not exactly usable. It's +6 top line. The problem here is that Dread Unleashed already does +6. Whoopsie daisy. Whoopsie daisy. You didn't see nothing! Yeah, better turn that off. Alright, you didn't see nothing, alright? That was an accident. Here's the thing. I like bottom line because the PTR, it was crazier. Yan Yu Dao cavalry were much crazier. Now, I do have to backtrack now on the live server because what was hitting a limit in the PTR is now hitting a different limit. So what used to be is that Yan Yu Dao cavalry used to hit targets at least twice to kill things. But well, twice or 3 times to kill something. But a bottom line Yan Yu Dao only needed to hit once to kill something. So you would guarantee kill like 6 guys with one dang Yan Yu Dao swipe. Oh, speedy! Getting that speed buff from the longsword. Right now, we got some shield maidens making a slow retreat. A little bit janky though. Getting chased off here. The Halberdier down the stairs. Not a great look. Also, Flamer's not a great look either. Better just have them basic attack at that point. Burning on the stairs have just never been really that great. Grabbing that supply point though, CE needs to hit them hard and hit them fast, but the problem is that good old respawn will be annoying. And I'll be honest, getting through those monks, especially up on the stairs, not my cup of tea. Mostly just Imperial Spear Guards, although Imperial Spear Guards could probably go toe-to-toe with Shield Maidens. I don't think the heroes will. Do actually kill the monks. So I thought the monks would definitely do a little bit better than that. We're looking for another charge here. The Shield Maidens could die or could win. Well, I'm not entirely sure about the matchup here. The Imperial Spear Guards are kind of cracked.
Child's play.
But nevertheless, getting a little bit of flank on, the Imperial Spear Guards will be difficult to finish off, but the Shield Maiden's doing a wonderful job at finishing them off. I am pushing straight on back to the base point. Without the hero interference, I do think the Imperial Spear Guards could have probably did better against the Shield Maidens, but the Shield Maidens outflanking them, crushed them in the end, and now grabbing the A point. Really sharp performance from DZ. Focused and fast. I loved that close range artillery as well, plus the movement from the Shield Maidens. Although I do think that I'm underappreciating the Mummy Learner's charge here. Sorry, I kind of lost. Can you explain the last note on the top bit? Okay, the top veterancy, what it does, it basically turns 65% of their damage into true damage. So, well, sorry. Not true damage, it's still affected by armor rating. Armor, what it does is that damage resistance is negated. So, put it like this. The Medaus has, what, 60% damage resistance against cavalry. Let's just say, Medal, 60% damage resistance, to simplify it, 60% damage resistance against cavalry. Now, if I did around about 3,000 damage to Medaus, that get cut by 60%. So I only do 1,200 damage. Sorry, 1,200 damage to the Medaus now. And what the last node of top line Yan Yadao do is it changes that 60% down to 35% of the total. So instead of your damage being affected by the whole 60%, it's only being affected by 35% of it, which in retrospect is around about 21%. So your damage goes from being reduced by 60% to 21%, which is quite a lot, in fact, because you've effectively doubled the amount of damage you were initially dealing. So you're dealing now what? Simplify things. Math, about 2,400 damage. That's what it's doing. Now, there are other things that are not classified under those protections. Armor, for one, is not classified under those protections. So, if the Yan Yadao Cavalry, by default, the Medaus would probably reduce the Yan Yadao Cavalry's damage just through armor. If I was just doing armor to penetration rating, it's actually around about 40%. So, in retrospect, the amount of
walk in the park.
Wow, I cannot believe that distance right there. He just dies from fall damage after getting hit by a war rocket. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. No. That is completely wrong. That is completely wrong. That's not how it works at all. So you will have there is a delay. So I hope you will bear with me. The delay on that takes quite a while. It is 3 minutes. But no, it does not work like that. That's not how the top line of the that's not how the veterancy node on the top line works. So, to get back into kind of top versus bottom, I'll be honest. It's mainly because the hit limit is already pretty high. The only way to get maximum efficiency out of a higher hit limit is that if you hit more targets. And the problem with that is you're less likely to hit all 12 targets with a single swing than you are to hit 6 targets but for more damage. And that's my thinking. So it's true for the most part, but there are some times where you can hit all 12. And sometimes you can get some nice infantry piles where you'll just smack the entire living shit out of. And again, hitting that limit is harder, but it's not impossible. I much prefer consistency, and it's better in a 1v1 scenario to have bottom line than it is the top line. Right now we have a nice start of the battle, but the Flamers are probably going to be the biggest problem to face for DZ. The Yanyidao Cavalry coming in from the back, and they just swipe right through. And that's a really good example of a bottom line Yanyidao Cavalry. I'm pretty sure it's a bottom line Yanyu Cavalry because just look at how many units was there and how many units they probably hit. In cases like this, Yanyidao Cavalry absolutely does way too much, way too good. It's basically like a cavalry charge, but it's unstoppable. And tracking. And tracking. So it's like United Charge. It's like United Charge, but better. And I even think that even United Charge doesn't have that much damage. United Charge historically has around about only does around about 50% damage compared to the normal charge. But it could be some multiplying factors as well. And if you will put it down to numbers, so bottom line works out to about be 840% efficiency, or 840% 840% output. But no, that's wrong. I did math wrong. Did I? 130 multiplied by 6 is 780. Yes, I did math wrong. It's actually 780. Which is actually very small. Very small. But if you go top line, the maximum damage output goes to 1200. That's a massive difference. That's a massive difference. But you also have to imagine you have to also imagine some of the other things. Getting hit by heavy, again, has to deal with these Flamers. These Flamers are really what's stopping CE from winning this fight here. But also getting attacked from two different sides. Yanyidao Cavalry comes in for DZ. Does take out the Flamers, but here comes Daggerrack Lancers. Again, having unit attires makes it much more difficult to identify units sometimes. But DZ will probably win this exchange, which is surprising at the very least. Mostly surf units for what remains, but I do think the defenders have a little bit more leeway than the attackers. And this is going to probably come down to another field battle. We're seeing a lot of field battles these days. About 2 minutes to go. They don't have much time to set up. But 6 artilleries to 17 artilleries. I do think that even with superiority, the defenders are still going to be hard-pressed once those artillery start to come down. And they're fast enough to get onto the base point. So they're in a good position for a good hold. Making that beachhead into the base point, not an easy task. Got to get past this grape shot already. Don't have time. Don't have time at all. A cannon could be useful. Definitely would not like to expose myself in this scenario. I would probably send through serfs or something tanky. Don't have a lot of time. Not a bad idea. Setting up shields right in front of a pike line allows other units behind it to charge in. One of DZ's members just get grape shot from the corner there. Again, corners are devastating and definitely hard to deal with. You don't want... Ooh, man, the artillery is coming out like crazy. I would definitely keep those flamers firing, but it does look like a side is coming through. One of the most annoying things is that monks just pushing through with that CC immunity. Advantage does go to the defenders, and it does look like they're going to get cleaned out. Very little time left over. Lots of artillery being used, but the counter assault has been successful, and they're going to get pushed out. Don't change the bottom line. Don't change the bottom line because of what I say. Just think about what you want out of them, because realistically, you're going to get a higher performance margin out of top line.
Child's play.
I like consistency, and I like killing heroes. That's the only reason you go for bot line, is because it's easier to deal with stronger and tougher units like monks, like Iron Reapers, Silidars, units that have huge health pools and small number of units, and against cavalry as well, because they have huge models, but you're not hitting very many. You're hitting like, if you're lucky, you can hit the whole unit, but there's only 16, maybe 18 of them in total. And most of the time, you don't want to just hit them. You want them dead. So, in the grand scheme of things, I definitely do think that there are merits for bottom line and top line. But I do think that I'm leaning more towards top line being a much higher performance. Having a much higher performance. The funny thing is just like, they also have a negative of versus heroes. And it's really funny because it's just like, I can still, like, even with this weak versus hero thing, I can still one-shot heroes with bottom line Yan Yudao cavalry, and it's not even hard. Like, I've killed short swords with that attack. That's how goddamn powerful that thing is. Now, there are wording differences. I don't know what you're referring to, but this is what Frontier does for wording. It just straight up states that Dread Unleashed deals at least 65% damage that is unaffected by damage reduction. Now, here's the caveat though. I am kind of shortening some of the calculations here and identifying some of the key points. So it says 65% of damage, and it refers to damage reduction. Obviously, it says Dread Unleashed. Doesn't really matter about Mounting Dread. Mounting Dread does like 6, maybe 800 damage per tick. I don't even know how fast a tick is, probably a quarter of a second. That is how I understood it, and that's how some of the calculations did work out when I was testing it on the PTR, or what I've seen from the PTR. I like using cavalry. They're fun unit, but I realize that most of their fun comes in how powerful they are. And I totally understand why having powerful unit is fun. It's just how it is. I mean, I think I know why they chose Linhui Fortress. They don't have very many members. This is going to be a very interesting field battle because it's a 15v15 map, so if they cannot get 15 members versus 15 members, I'm wondering whether or not Booming Tech will go ahead with this numbers. That'll be very interesting. That will be very interesting. Oh yeah, I forgot to play my 3-minute ad in the center, in the middle there. Well, if nothing happens in the next 3 minutes, I'll probably play an ad. But yeah. This is useless, I think, personally. I mean, like, from my experience, it's useless. This is very powerful, but chances of you hitting enough units for this thing to actually be worth it is actually kind of small. But impact-wise, I do realize that now that in the grand scheme of things, having one Ganyanao cavalry being able to hit 12 units is way better than having one Ganyanao cavalry hit harder for 6 units. And I do think that this is a problem that the developers seem to like making without fixing it ever. Because now you've just created a unit that has a damage margin of 1200%. Man, just play with that number for a second. What other unit has a damage margin of 1200%? Most lance cavalry probably do. Sword cavalry struggle, maybe? Sword cavalry can do it, but come on. Their charge is super easy to counter, and they're squishy. Way squishier. Yanyan cavalry, in fact, are not exactly easy to kill, especially with that 15% damage reduction while using Mounting Dread. For one, I mean, I never believe that it's my place to say that they're going in the wrong direction or they should do this, but I honestly do believe that balance-wise, this is awful, absolutely awful. They need to change their overarching philosophy, or definitely start ramping up some of the older units to really compete. Right. Um, yeah. So that's why my Forte with 3 damage reductions doesn't die that much versus New Cav. Probably. Or maybe, I mean, like, it shouldn't really die at all with 60% damage reduction, but it can still get killed, which is the most annoying part. Well, welcome back. Sorry for the ad, though. I'm not sure how many times I need to I'm not sure how many times or how I need to explain this. What exactly constitutes damage reduction is like damage reduction effects that doesn't have anything to do with armor itself. Where everyone knows, well, everyone should know how
defense and armor penetration works, right? That's a separate system. Absolutely separate. Now, this refers to damage reduction like as a separate thing. And it's kind of consistent. I mean, like, damage numbers are, for the most part, consistent from when I tested on the PTR. It could be unaffected by armor, but doesn't really show that. It's either that it doesn't get affected by armor, or the penetration is just so damn high anyway that it's just not affected by armor anyway. So there's that. The always good example is just the medals, because they're overloaded with damage reduction effects. So here's a good difference of how damage reduction effect, or the classification of damage reduction, works. So Medal Defense here has two parts. It has a damage reduction effect and an armor increase effect. So the damage reduction effect decreases damage from cavalry by 33%. That get affected by the 65%, meaning that the 33% gets reduced by 65%. Or the 65% of the damage that gets affected by the 33% is unaffected, which is very long-winded and very difficult to say. It's more or less the same if you calculate it out, that the 33% gets reduced by 65%. Instead of saying that 65% of your damage is unaffected by the 33%, which again, you just end up with the same thing. I think of top as the one soldier can hit 12, so even if only one soldier hits the enemy, he can deal to 12 enemies, but I also feel like the more I hit, the less damage they do, like the mole abilities. Well, that's the thing. Hero abilities and unit abilities are completely different. Heroes have a diminishing effect when we hit multi-target, because all of our abilities actually have an unlimited hit limit. So in order to mitigate the power of heroes, or the effect of heroes, we have a diminishing return per hero, well, sort of. We have a diminishing effect for each additional target. There is a limit to that, though. It's around about 25%. So our damage gets reduced something like 10% up to 15% per target we hit until 25%. And I do love that idea that one hero unit hits 12 targets. I totally love that idea. But the problem is that it's a unit that has 18 models. That's not small, mind you. That's not small, mind you. 18 models is medium size. Small number of models are 16, even 14 for some of the heaviest. There's 2 more models than the Liaos. And again, there is cavalry that has up to 21 units. Some of the larger size ones, anyway. What makes it difficult to deal with the Yang Yunao cavalry is their innate tankiness is actually higher than most other cavalry. But the whole problem really stems from their difficulty to stop as well. There is no unit that stops Yang Yunao cavalry from charging up their skill. And that means they charge up their skills no matter what. I thought it would be a cool idea that if they got hit, momentum would reduce instead. And that would be cool. I thought that would be a really great idea, that a balancing act for me is like, sorry. I was playing with the concept of the momentum meter that they have. I thought it would be cool if they got hit by enemies, it would reduce, and if they attacked, it would reduce. But obviously, if it goes up, they do more and more damage, and so that would be really cool. No, they do not. So you see, Fortibracios don't have any extra bonuses or damage resistances against cavalry, and that's a big thing. That's a big thing that makes Fort Russia in particular very difficult to really keep alive against tons of cavalry just being thrown at it. But that's also the thing that Fortebraccios kill cavalry very easily, because it's not stated anywhere, but their brace formation has 15% bonus damage against cavalry. There's plenty of update logs that tell you that Fortebraccios have been buffed against cavalry, um, specifically. Reason why I go bot line is I like being tanky so that I can lead the charge. There is 20% here, so you're not wrong. It's not 35%. So we have 10% here, 10% here. Add those together, it's 20%. Um, but I mean, any normal person would go top line because there's no reason to go bottom line. Only reason you go bottom line is that if you want to be more aggressive with the pikemen. And that means you're trading off the damage for tankiness in order to be aggressive. I like doing that. I'm very aggressive. Sometimes I don't even leave them in brace and I attack with them instead. But that also has kind of backfired on me since the changes to stand or brace in general for these guys have been changed. Previously, they used to have to be in formation in order to brace. Now you can brace on the spot. Big difference from having them move around and attack and be in formation. The formation weakness no longer being there makes this unit pretty worthless to me right now. Even though I love the enhanced tankiness. But in the grand scheme of things, it's actually the bonuses from this bottom line is actually not worth it. The top line bonuses are just way better. Just way better. Doctrine-wise, though, is a bit different. Oh, okay. I think a forfeit just happened. Which part does more damage, the first when you unleash it, or the second strike when you wait 2 seconds? Neither. They should be equal. The point is that they unleash multiple attacks. So it doesn't matter which attack comes in first or which one comes in second. Both attacks are classified as Dread Unleashed at max or at the level that you unleashed it on. So it doesn't matter. They will do equal amount of damage, first and second. I do think that Dread Unleashed should only attack once. Although that's not true. It attacks at least twice, I think. I just don't like how it's been changed, because on initial release, Dread Unleashed only attacked once. And that was good, and I thought that was more balanced than what we have now. So I'm just going to double check the results here.
Families of the dead soldiers are still waiting for them to come home. Our path is the difficult one.
I do think CE defaulted because they don't have enough people. So I'm just going to double check with Luna Shark here. See if he's here, though. I mean, like, or she, whatever. I didn't stream today because I was a little bit sick, so there was that. Hey, I won't lie to you. Sometimes just seeing people just fly is always just fun, because...
The river, it never ends.
Green ones? Fort Russia shouldn't have a trait like that. Oh, that's interesting. I must have forgotten this change. I didn't think this one changed. However, that was probably true. That probably got updated at some point. Hmm. So you're not wrong. I mean, this is pretty cool. That I mean, not cool. So I say 15% less damage from cavalry during brace. Sure. Funny, really funny though. Um, I just realized that if you put both the doctrines on, that's true for all pikemen. Momentum thing. They have all pikemen have a momentum kind of bonus damage here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get a response. Oh yes, I love what you just said, Corn Berserker. I hate it as well. I hate the 360-degree brace. That is stupid. That is so stupid. Because from a realistic standpoint, you're swinging around a pike 360 degrees, you're going to hit everyone. You're going to hit all your allies. You shouldn't be able to do that. Oh, come on. You really think that's a handicap because they're it's a nerf to Forte. Yeah, sure it is. I don't know about you, but the ability to track anything and everything around you under 360 degrees, honestly, it can be abused. Don't get me wrong. I just think that it's more beneficial than there are demerits. And we can have our opinions. I don't think that the 360 degrees is a negative. I think it's definitely a pro. It was a pro for most pike units, and again, it's late. I like the thinking with Corn Berserker. It's lazy gameplay. I place my butt down. I don't care which direction it's facing. I just brace, and they will adapt their brace. I don't have to worry about angles. I don't have to worry about facing. I just brace them, and they'll be fine. There's many times where I try to attack a pike unit from behind, and it doesn't work out because they just turn around and kill me. So I definitely disagree with you on the fact that the 360 degrees is a nerf. Alrighty, I do have an official ruling. So this will be what we saw today. We got to watch TNK versus MJ. MJ winning on the field battle 2-1, followed by DZ versus CE, with DZ winning, but not on the field battle. CE defaulted their tiebreaker, insufficient number of players. So that is all we have. And at the end of the day, I do hope you guys enjoyed the stream. We did get to talk about a lot of things other than the actual matches, but I hope you guys do learn. I do hope you guys love to talk about this game. I do as well, but I do think sharing information and telling the developers what you hate, what you like, is a great start. Don't be shy about telling the developers about your about what you want changed, because the more people that tells the developers that they don't like this, they want this changed, or you think this is ridiculous, the more likely they will change something. We will probably get something. We did get a little bit of feedback actually about a recent post that someone did about the CC immunity doctrine, so that might get changed. I'm not entirely sure, but I also think people are overblowing the CC immunity doctrine, but that's just my opinion. Actually, The Fortebrachers were buffed not because of the Liaos, but because of the Yan Yidao cavalries, and I can see why. The Fortebrachers didn't need to be buffed against the Liaos because the performance margin not actually that bad. Against this new cavalry, the performance margin is so bad. So bad. Like, the Yan Yidao cavalry can bust through the Fortebraccio by itself. And that is ridiculous. Like, absolutely ridiculous if you ask me. The Liaos really struggle sometimes to get to the Fortebraccios or to kill the Fortebraccios. The new cavalry will blast through them, and I mean blast through them. And so there's nothing to do about that. Ah, yes, that is very interesting as well. I was told a theory to someone about how that works. Is the bonus brace damage works by how um it works by how much of the length of the hitbox a target moves, which is very weird because that's a large amount of calculations right there. Um. Anyway, I have been rambling on a lot. I do like this talk. I normally do stream on the Monday, so I will stream again on the Monday following, hopefully. I didn't stream today because I was sick, but I did end up streaming the HLL, or the House Legion League, and we did get to watch 2 battles, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. So I will be closing up the stream now, and hope you guys enjoyed the stream. But other than that, my name is Azakai. Have a nice day. I'll see you guys on the Wednesday for the next set of battles, and until then, goodbye. Bye for now.